What is up, and welcome. Today I'm going to be reviewing a pretty cool new immersive website that I just discovered. Netflix launched an immersive 360-degree web experience for their Emmy nominated shows, and it's pretty cool. There are some highlights, some shining bright spots in terms of like UX or UI. There's also some clunky pieces that I can potentially see throwing somebody off the journey. But let's go ahead and hit start experience on here and see what happens. Awesome. We got a classic Netflix intro there. Let's see. So sometimes it takes a second to load. One thing with concepts that are like full 360 VR environments, they can take a second to load. I've already loaded this, so normally it would load with a welcome screen and just kind of like some basic instructions, get started. But since I've already done that, you'll see that I've granted motion access to my device, right? So you can see me just moving my phone around, and it's pretty easy to explore this space. I think this was designed in Unreal Engine or Unity 3D, something like that. It's not like a graphic designed space. There's real depth here, and you'll see as soon as I start clicking on some of these hotspots what I mean by that. But it's pretty cool, right? We've got this environment, and it's welcoming. I think they call this the lobby. I'm going to go ahead and start with this Stranger Things 3 room here. I'll tap the hotspot right there, and I'm going to have to tap it again. Cool, there we go. You'll see, it takes a second to load, but then when I hit click to enter, boom, there it's ready. Cool. So we're kind of entering into, the ice cream shop from Stranger Things, right? We all, if you've seen the show, you know what this is. This is a fun part of the setting. And if I tap on the screen, right, it pops up with some extra stuff here. One thing that I really like about this, it looks like my overlay on here is kind of covering that, but on the bottom left side, you'll see it says 2/ and at the bottom it says 2 again. So it tells you how many hotspots there are in this space, which I think is a really powerful piece of the UI. It kind of puts a boundary on the creativity. One thing that you don't want to do is leave people like an open-ended experience, because most people don't know what to do in these spaces. So I'll go ahead and click one of these hotspots here, and you can see it pops open a card that auto loads and shows a trailer for the show. For this particular season, I'll go ahead and close out of that. There's another hotspot there as well with another piece of media. I'm going to go ahead and move into the next space with this little location hotspot. You'll see the quality kind of diminishes a little bit in the transition. There's a lot to load here. But this is a really awesome web VR experience. Let's be real. I'll be honest with you and say this probably costs like 6 figures plus to make. It's extremely robust. Each space obviously has these additional media pieces. Let's see what happens when I click this one. Okay, cool. So we got some behind the scenes stuff with a sound designer from the set. I'm going to back out of this again and just keep going into the next one. So this is a really engaging way to bring people into the story that you're trying to tell, right? Like the ambiance of the show. A lot of times, if a company's already invested in making, 3D rendered spaces for like a virtual show, like an animated show, something like that, this could potentially be really easy to launch as a website. Unity has recently launched some stuff. Mozilla VR and Unity allow you to kind of port Unity projects into WebVR. So if you've got a Unity project, you can potentially just port it directly into one of these spaces. I'm going to hit the next hotspot here. You'll see it does this kind of cool flickery thing, right? This is something you can't do with a static 360-degree website, and I'm really pleased with how this works. This is an amazing room, honestly. Like, so cool. But unfortunately, it just auto-loads you into the next experience, which I think is something that's a little bit aggressive in terms of like the journey through this stuff. I'm going to hit the home button here. We're going to return to the lobby. And then we have to start the experience again, right? So there's some like weird continuity issues with a piece like this. The screen's black right now because I guess it's loading this massive 3D room. I'm on Wi-Fi. Let it be known that I'm on Wi-Fi and it's taking this long to actually load. So that's important to consider. But Again, this is kind of the future of media experiences. You know, if you're bringing fans into a world that you've created, into a universe, you can literally, you know, take a web experience like this and place them into the story. You can immerse them in the story. You know, not every fan is going to be interested in doing something like this. I personally feel like this kind of content is for super fans, people who are really interested in the story that's being told. They want a deeper look. And additionally, for younger generations, you know, my mom is not going to be flipping out over how awesome this 360 experience is, but my younger cousins expect this kind of stuff from the brands that they follow. And the reason is because it's more experiential. We want experiences, we want it to be interactive. So, thus ends my review of Netflix's new 360-degree site. Like I said, there's some cool takeaways from this, like the hotspot counter, some of the VFX stuff that's happening with the experience. But again, all that comes at the sacrifice of load time and like a consistent user experience. I can imagine, depending on the phones that people have, depending on their technological capabilities, this could be an extremely unintuitive experience. Like, I'm very familiar with 360s. One important thing to note is, although I'm like moving my phone around here, I think I just turned it off in the bottom right, the auto orientation. So you have to grant the internet window permission to access like the gyroscope so that it moves. But otherwise, if you don't have the gyroscope on, you know, I'm just spinning with my thumb here. And that's pretty intuitive for most of us. Like, the swiping gesture is something that we're all very familiar with. Anyway, really excited to see more pieces like this from brands in 2020 and going forward. Making things experiential is really the future, and brands need to figure out how they can do this cost effectively. And there are some holes with this concept. I mean, there is a vast gap of knowledge in terms of marketing strategy for how we use these kinds of pieces. One thing that I'm looking at here is they designed all these spaces. So they could take 360-degree stills from each of these spaces, and to potentially drive further fan engagement, run advertisements on social media that are either 360 videos of these or 360 stills of these spaces to get people into this kind of virtual experience. Also, you know, this is a web experience, right? So we can indeed do things like pixel tagging. There's not really a best practice yet for like cookie GDPR compliance with 360-degree websites. So that's definitely something to take into consideration. But, you know, just as easily as a regular website, you can put click tracking IDs, like scripting IDs and stuff for Google Analytics on all of these hotspots and in all of these spaces. And then potentially retarget around users who, you know, penetrated far enough into the experience that maybe now they get a bonus 1 minute scene, like, you know, like behind the scenes something from Stranger Things or something like that, right? I think in this experience, they weren't really trying to like hide anything in the space because they wanted to be easy to explore and still be novel. But realistically, if you're not Netflix, you know, if you're an indie brand, a small brand, if you're an artist or a label trying these things, part of the fun of these experiences is the curiosity and discovery aspect of them. And hiding fun next steps or rewards for fans that like go the distance with the experience is kind of, to me, it's like next gen marketing strategy, next gen digital strategy. Right now, everybody's trying to figure out how they can bring experiential and interactive media into their digital strategy. But, you know, in a year or two, honestly, it might even be 5 years before we really get there. There needs to be a more strategic approach to these kind of media investments where, you know, if you're spending 200 grand launching a web experience like this or 100 grand, there's so much extra content that you can pull out of it. 360-degree stills, 2D videos of someone exploring the space and doing a reaction video, something like this. You can pull photos, like you can fold these into tiny planets, and that's a fresh visual aesthetic for people. This is kind of the new top of the content pyramid, so to speak, where this experience is so high resolution, the company that made it can absolutely export high res stills, high res videos, whatever you want from this space. And then you can turn those into marketing campaigns. A lot of people don't really realize how accessible immersive content is through social and web. For example, Facebook ads. You can run Facebook ads with 360 videos. Exact same targeting, exact same metrics, and then some that you get from regular video ads, such as heat maps. If you use a platform like Omnivert, you can run these as display ads through the Google ad network and like third-party networks and stuff, pretty much wherever you want on the internet. And that's powerful. The Internet of Things makes these kind of experiences easy to share. And I think this is a great example of what the future of the internet looks like, these experiential marketing concepts. So I hope you thought this review was interesting. Bravo to the Netflix team or whoever the heck did this, because it's fantastic. Despite the little UI, UX hiccups, it's one of the coolest things that I've seen to date done by a brand. Really neat. And stay tuned for the next review. I am really interested in reviewing these 360 web experiences to kind of show people, what's possible, what people are thinking when they're using it, and how we can improve on both the creative, the storytelling aspect of this, but also the digital strategy, because that is a piece that is absolutely missing in the world of immersive media. I kind of feel like I'm on a lonely island here doing digital strategy for immersive media, but it's the future, and especially until this becomes like a more cost-effective medium to do stuff like this robust, brands really need to consider how they get more mileage out of these investments. And there are ways to do it today. There will be more ways to do it tomorrow. And with that being said, get excited about the future. I'll catch you guys on the next review. Peace out for now. Shep Bryan saying sayonara from Austin, Texas.